Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to another fishing report. Before we dive into this week's fishing report, just a couple of things that I want to go over quick. Over on our Facebook page, we are currently running a giveaway for an LH custom rod. So head over to our Facebook page, check that out, and get entered into that giveaway. Also want to remind you guys, if you're heading out fishing, it is very crucial that you have an extension on your auger. Right now, most places are looking at 30 to 32 inches of ice, and extensions are completely necessary. I also want to remind you guys, even though it doesn't seem like it, open water season is approaching rapidly. I talked to several of the guides we work with. Zupsguideservice over on Lake Winnie. He is taking bookings for the open water season now, and his May and June dates are starting to really fill in. And then over on Leech Lake, we will be working with Leech Lake Guide Team LLC, and they are starting to take their open water bookings as well. And Austin also told me that their books are starting to fill up in those earlier months of the season. So if you're looking to get in on some open water guide trips, go ahead, give those guys a call and get something booked as soon as you can. But with that being said, let's dive into this week's fishing report. All right, this week we are going to start up on Lake Winnie. I talked to Chad from the Pines Resort. Like I already said, guys, they have a ton of ice out there, like 30 inches plus in most areas. No vehicle restrictions. As far as snow cover goes out on the ice, there's anywhere from bare spots up to 18-inch drifts. So off-roading is possible, but definitely watch for those deeper drifts or you're going to be doing some shoveling. Now, as far as the fishing goes, this cold front that we just came through, it really did shut the bite down. The fish are kind of in a transition as well, and they're finding fish anywhere from 9 to 32 feet of water as those walleyes are making their transition into their pre-spawn areas. Now, still the best ways to catch those walleyes out on Lake Winnie, dead sticks with plain red hooks is working best. Although they are still getting some on plain white hooks and white and pink jigs as well. Now, as far as minnows to tip those with, on the colder days, fatheads seem to be working better, although golden shiners have been producing a lot of those fish as well. Those golden shiners can be a little bit tricky to find at this point in the season, so a good substitute would be smaller sucker minnows. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, the perch have been biting a little bit better than the walleyes have been, but like the walleyes, they're kind of in a transition as well. They're picking them up in that 10 to 32 foot of water, kind of that sweet spot being that like 15 to 22 feet range. The best ways to catch those: dead sticks with fatheads, plain hooks, and then small jigging spoons such as Northland buckshot tungstens. And good colors for those are gold, white, and pink. Now, the panfish bite out of the Pines Resort, the panfish bite has been very good. It was kind of mainly those low light periods, that sunrise and sunset time, but they are starting to bite more throughout the day. They're getting some really big bluegills, really big crappies. They're finding them in that 6 to 10 foot of water on those weed edges and up in the pockets inside the weeds. Best ways to catch those fish: small tungsten jigs tipped with Eurolarva or waxworms, and also on a plain hook with a crappie minnow. Now, as far as pike fishing goes, they are still catching a bunch of pike out there. Seems like the best depth for the pike is at 10 to 15 foot of water, and they're starting to see some more of those bigger pike starting to show back up in the bay So now is a decent time to get out there and throw down some tip-ups. Although, just a reminder, this is the last weekend for walleye and pike. So just keep that in mind. Now, the Pines Resort, they do plan to stay open past game fish season. They're going to try and remain open all through March. However, they aren't going to continue to maintain the roads after the first weekend in March, but they will allow you to use their access, whether that be in trucks, ATVs, snowmobiles, whatever that looks like, depending on if we get more snow or not. Now, the Pines Resort, they do have cabins available. They will be renting out cabins well into March as well. They have a full bar and restaurant, fish cleaning shack, live bait. They do have some cabins available for fishing opener as well, which is extremely rare. So if you want to get up to Lake Winnie for fishing opener, jump on one of those cabins and enjoy some open water time up on beautiful Lake Winnie. All right, now moving over to Leech Lake. We're going to start with Horseshoe Bay Lodge, located on the main lake portion of Leech Lake. This is going to be their last weekend open for fishing, and that is mainly due because of the bridge that they have in place over the active crack, and with the warm-up coming, that crack could start to move, and they're going to pull that bridge so there won't be access out to the main fishing grounds. Now, as far as fishing goes out of Horseshoe Bay Lodge, the walleye bite has been a little bit tougher. Guys fishing in portables and being active, they are catching more than people just plunking down in a wheelhouse and fishing them. The best depth right now is that 17 to 23 feet of water on those more gradual break lines off of the structure. That mid slope has been better than up on top or on the bottom of those break lines, but that 17 to 23 foot is kind of key. Now, there is another area that guys are starting to pick up some really nice walleyes, and that is on the shallow rocks, that 10 to 15 feet of water. But to be successful fishing those shallow rocks, you got to be quiet. You need to keep your generator up off of the ice. You need to have your lights turned down. Music, no go. You need to be quiet. But those walleyes are in that shallow water and they are hungry. Now, the perch bite out of Horseshoe Bay still is going strong. They're finding those mainly over in that South Paris Trench area, that 20 to 25 foot of water. Dead sticks with fatheads and smaller rainbows is working well. And then be ready to jig for those fish as well with small spoons or small tungsten jigs with both minnow heads or waxworms. Now, as far as the whitefish and tulipy bite goes, that really is starting to heat up. The best area for those right now is over in that Big Rock Reef area, that deep water, that 30 foot plus adjacent to those steeper break lines off of Big Rock Reef have been producing the most fish. And some guys are really starting to hone in on those big whitefish out there and not just catching onesies, twosies anymore, but starting to put 6, 7, 10, 12 big whitefish topside. Now, the tulipies are biting too. Those tend to be a little bit more suspended than the whitefish, but a lot of guys are marking them down towards bottom still, and those are biting on those small gold tungsten jigs tipped with plastics, Eurolarva, or waxworms. Now, the eel pout bite is really starting to heat up as well, as those fish are starting to prepare for their spawn. Best areas to target those are on those shoreline break lines in that 18 to 24 feet of water. Now, best ways to catch those eel pout: big heavy glow spoons, pound those on bottom, tip them with a minnow or a minnow head or even a couple of minnows, and then dead sticks with big glow jigs, tip those with a fathead, rainbows, golden shiners, sucker minnows, doesn't seem to really matter, just set those minnows down close to bottom. Now, Horseshoe Bay Lodge, they do have hotel room availability, large group housing, and if you mention Livin MN Outdoors, you will receive a discount on your hotel rooms. Now, along with that, they have a full bar and restaurant, indoor pool, hot tub, sauna. Red Wing Lodge is partnering with them on the ice road, and they do have propane refill and fish cleaning house as well. So if you guys are looking to get up to the main lake portion of Leech Lake, go ahead and call Horseshoe Bay Lodge. All right, now moving over to Acorn Hill Resort, located on Traders Bay out on beautiful Leech Lake. Like I said before, they have a ton of ice out there. You need an extension as far as the snow cover goes. Like I said before, anywhere from bare ice up to those 18-inch drifts. So be extremely careful if you are off-roading so that you don't get stuck. Now, as far as the walleye fishing goes, the walleye fishing has been improving week by week. This past weekend was probably the best walleye fishing they've had this season. A couple of areas you can find those walleyes in, out on those big mud flats or over on the rocks by Stony Point. But you really need to try and get set up on those rocks if that's what you're going to do. Now, best depth for those, 18 to 23 foot of water. Best ways to catch those, dead sticks with plain red hooks and golden shiners, or jigging bigger glow spoons in white, pink, or red, and tip those with a minnow head. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, the perch bite is the star out of Acorn Hill Resort right now. It is absolutely on fire up there. They're catching the majority of those in that 18 to 23 foot of water out on the sand to mud transitions. Overall, just out on the mud flats out there. Right now, it is not unheard of to catch a limit of 11 plus inch perch in a matter of 20 to 30 minutes. Now, best ways to catch those perch, dead sticks with big fat heads or rainbows, and then jigging small tungsten buckshot spoons, Northland eyeball spoons. Tip those with a minnow head, and you're going to catch some really nice perch. Now, Acorn Hill Resort, they do have sleeper houses. They are currently running some late season specials on those. They have day houses, guided perch trips, and they are going to be extending their fishing season into March. But you need to stay tuned to our Facebook page along with their Facebook page, because with the warm-up, that could change the access or whether or not they have their bridge getting across the active crack. Now, for those of you who are utilizing their fish house storage, this will be the last weekend for that. They are asking that you take your fish house home this weekend. And if you plan to leave your fish house out on the lake, they do ask that you bring that inside of the crack over the bridge. And if you're going to leave it out there, leave it on the bay side of that crack. Now, just want to remind you guys, Acorn Hill Resort later this summer, I believe June 7th through the 14th, they will be hosting Walleye Camp. That is basically a camp that is going to teach you everything you need to know about how to fish walleye out on Leech Lake. That will include your housing, your meals, your seminars. I believe you get like 4 guided walleye trips as well. So if you want to look into that, I'll post some information down below and you can go check that out. So if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake out of the Traders Bay area, go ahead and call Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort. All right, now moving down to Mille Lacs Lake. The word for the day on Mille Lacs Lake is slow. The walleye bite is slow, and the perch fishing has really slowed down up on that north and east side of the lake where the perch bite was so good. That bite is really slowing down now. If you are willing to run and gun with a portable four-wheeler, snowmobile, some of those guys are still picking up some of them really nice perch, but you have to be mobile to be successful on catching those big perch right now. Now, if you are going to go up there and target those perch, that 29 to 34 foot of water has been best. Get off the edge of those mud flats, anywhere from 10 to 100 yards off the edge of the mud flats. Those perch are out there roaming, eating those bugs up out of the mud. And best ways to catch those are on either small jigging spoons with a minnow head, or on days where the bite is really tough, small tungsten jigs tipped with larvae or waxworms. And then dead sticks with crappie minnows has been working as well. Now, as far as the walleye bite goes, there's plenty of walleyes biting, but the size on those walleyes is really small. Anywhere from 4 to 9 inch walleyes, there's tons of them. Remember guys, be very careful handling those fish, because those are the future giants of Mille Lacs Lake, and that is what is going to make that lake come back and thrive for walleye fishing in the future. Now, I also want to remind you guys, Mille Lacs Lake does have an extended pike season. So even though this is the last weekend for walleye and pike, Mille Lacs Lake is an exception, and I believe their pike season goes till March 31st. So definitely take advantage of that. I do know that down in the southern bays on those weed lines in that 6 to 14 feet of water, there are a bunch of really nice pike roaming around. Big sucker minnows, smelt below a tip up, an iFish Pro that is producing some really nice pike. Well, that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys can make it out fishing this weekend for one more shot at those walleyes. If you do make it out fishing, take some pictures, send them over to us, to our Gmail or on Facebook, and we will try to feature you in next week's fishing report. As long as the resorts are staying open and providing us fishing reports, we will keep putting them out there each week. And we will be out filming a bunch more fishing, because late ice is our absolute favorite time to chase those panfish. So, if you guys make it out fishing, remember, don't crowd your neighbor, be respectful of other fishermen, and most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.